It's another book review. At least this one is about making stuff and not fiction, right? First, let me be completely transparent and tell you, I can't say that I'm not affiliated with Bernadette because I do back her on Patreon. I had nothing to do with the making of this book. I am not being paid for my opinion. Bernadette does not know that I'm reviewing this book. I received this as a Christmas present and I was like, oh, lovely. I probably would not have bought this book for myself because I know that this is geared toward a beginner, but having gotten it as a gift, I now have something in my library that when one of my friends says that they don't know anything about sewing, I can start them off with. So I do think that it is a worthy addition to a library for anyone who does sew. It just might not teach you anything new. Let's start with the good. There are some concepts in the book that she puts a lot of emphasis on that I also put a lot of emphasis on and agree with her, particularly about the importance of grain and the importance of pre-washing your stuff because those chemicals, the sizing on your cloth when you buy it is nasty and carcinogenous. So we are in agreement on that. The photos showing the steps for the stitches are beautiful and clear. She's done a really good job with that. The information within is, I would say it's pretty accurate. There's a little bit about sheep and wool that knowing a lot more about it makes you a little nitpicky. There's a section about equipment. Most of this book is about hand sewing, which I really appreciate because there are thousands of years of human history that sewing machines did not exist, that people were still sewing clothes and they didn't fall off. They were sturdy. You can make a lot of things and mend a lot of things without a machine. Machines are expensive and not everybody wants them. They do take up space, especially if you keep them out all the time. The book is separated into preparing materials, which is more of a primer about cloth and how it works and gives you some basic anatomy and things to keep in mind when you are beginning a project. She does go over a few different fiber contents and how to burn test for those contents. She does also go over a few different weaves. She talks about pre-washing. She talks about thread marking. And there's a section of the stitches. Then we have applications of that handwork, which includes finishing the edges, pressing buttons and buttonholes, including the thread shank that you put on a flat button. And then she's got some slightly more advanced techniques, including pleats, gathers, lace insertion, and pin tucks, whatnot. She does have a little bit of smocking, which I've never done before, so I will probably use the instructions in this book for when I finally decide that I want to do smocking, which it's not on the table just yet. Then we've got practical alterations and care and feeding, making clothes last. This is where we talk about the darning and mending and whatnot, reattaching the buttons that fall off. If you have never sewn before and you've never purchased a book on how to sew, this would be my top recommendation for getting a book that will teach you hand stitching. This is a very, very good book for a beginner. That said, there are some things that I don't like about it. Number one, this is a perfect bound book. The binding is not a lay flat binding. It does require you to sort of break the spine, and it doesn't sit open super duper well unless you like punish it to do that. I am a real big fan of spiral binding for instructional books. This does look a lot better on the bookshelf, and it's cheaper. Perhaps in the future we'll get the opportunity for a special edition that's spiral bound, so we have a true lay flat binding. I find with something that has instructions, keeping it open to the page that you're on can be very, very helpful. Secondly, these pages are glossy, semi-gloss pages, which makes it very difficult to read this at night by the light of my book light. The glare on the pages is pretty problematic for me. It does make the pictures look beautiful, and it does lend a very nice sense of quality to the book. It does make it a little hard to read. Layout-wise, I'm not fond of the chapter headings. We have a couple of places where the chapter begins and then the text has no heading on the next page, and I feel like that would have been better as a spread where we have the chapter beginning here and then the text here. It just feels like hanging text to me. The next thing that I'm not really fond of are these features here, and not because they're features. We have a lot of representation in these features. I really like the inclusion of these people and their outlook. The problem that I have with it is that the features do not correspond to the chapter that they precede. I feel like if each person who had done a feature had been asked to talk about or incorporate the things that would be learned in the chapter, they wouldn't feel so out of place. Or if they had been kept as an appendix in the back, because we do have a glossary in the back and we have endnotes in the back. We have a bibliography and acknowledgements. I just feel like they don't flow well in the book. Those are my complaints, and really I'm mostly nitpicking here. She does have a few things that not a lot of people talk about. If you watch my videos, you will probably also hear them in there, but I'm not going to point them out because I don't want to give things away from the book. I think it's a good book. I think if you're a beginner, you should definitely pick it up. The retail price on it is $23. It's not that expensive for a book of instruction. I have seen way more expensive books. It's a really good book for beginners. If you have somebody who keeps saying that they want to learn how to sew in your life, this is a great gift for them. If you have somebody in your life who already sews, who often talks to people who want to learn how to sew, also a great gift for them because they can lend it out. It's a really good primer. Go for it. I will say be careful if you're going to use these like sticky note things, because I caused some damage to my book. I thought that I was going to be bright and make a bunch of notes on these clear sticky notes. It sticks to the finish really, really well. Just a warning. That is Make, Sew, and Mend by Bernadette Banner. Really great book for beginners. Thank you for being here on this journey with me to craft a life worth living. I hope that you are successful in crafting your own life worth living, however that crafting looks. Please make sure that it does look like you are staying hydrated, because I know that most of us aren't. Please drink some water. In addition to whatever else you're drinking, please drink some water. Please. I'm begging you. Thank you for taking care of my friend. I promise I am doing my very best to take care of yours. I'll see you next week.